I'm part of the East, I'm part of the South, I'm part of the West, I'm universal. I'm India.
These exact words from India's Foreign Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar pretty much sum up the country's foreign policy and its global ambitions in the near future. And they certainly befit a diplomat of the world's largest democracy. When a politician becomes almost like a social media celebrity, there's definitely something to watch out for. His words have become savage mic drop quotes. He's praised even by the opposition and has made India the epicenter of world diplomacy. So much so that even its neighboring country was seen praising him. Now, whether he is India's best foreign affairs minister or not will always be something to look at. But one thing is for certain. Jaishankar has definitely set the bar high for all future foreign affairs ministers.
That Europe's problems are the world's problems. But the world's problems are not Europe's problems.
Problem? Why should it be a problem? If I'm smart enough to have multiple options, you should be admiring me. You shouldn't be criticizing. Don't worry, Senator, one democracy will settle it. And you know which one.
On 30th May 2019, he was sworn in as Union Minister of External Affairs. As soon as he was appointed to the ministry, he took over the job that PM Modi himself was responsible for throughout his first term. Even though Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister in 2014, in his first term, he was still new amongst the other senior and seasoned leaders of his government. So, many senior BJP leaders were promoted to the ranks of cabinet ministers. The foreign affairs portfolio was given to the late Sushma Swaraj. While she was bold and feisty as any other minister, she fell short of expertise in world diplomacy and foreign affairs. So Modi himself took on India's diplomatic mission and extensively went on to travel the world. He made a total of 49 trips in his first term, making his last trip to South Korea in February 2019, just before the next general elections. He even held a record for becoming the most frequent flying Indian Prime Minister, which drew a fair amount of criticism. By 2019, in his second term, Modi took into account the changing geopolitical scenario and had realized the dire need of a specialist, a master diplomat, a person who has a good understanding of the global powers, who can simplify complicated propositions and can masterfully articulate them to international audiences. And Modi's pick was someone he had worked with, someone he trusted, and someone he knew from back when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. In November 2011, on a trip to Beijing, Modi met S. Jaishankar, who was the Indian ambassador to China at the time. Back then, 22 Gujarati diamond traders were arrested by the Chinese authorities under the charge of smuggling. A month after Modi's visit, a dozen of them returned to India.
A Shenzhen court later found 12 traders innocent and ordered their deportation.
And the rest were handed varied jail terms. The Modi diplomacy was hailed as one of the reasons for their return, but the visit turned out way better than expected. In that short span, both Modi and Jaishankar left an impression on each other. However, Modi left a much bigger impression on Jaishankar. For someone who came from a diplomat family background, becoming the foreign secretary was the limit of his ambition. Jaishankar never had any intention of joining politics, which is why it would take someone like Modi to convince him to head the Foreign Affairs Ministry, or he might not have joined politics in the first place.
I'm not sure any Prime Minister other than Narendra Modi would have made me minister.
Months before his swearing in as the External Affairs Minister in March 2019, he was awarded India's fourth highest civilian award, the Padma Shri. It was very telling of the fact that the Modi government had a lot of faith in his accomplishments. Throughout his diplomatic career, Jaishankar held many outstanding records. In 2006-2007, Jaishankar led the team which negotiated the 123 agreement with the United States. It was a strategic civil nuclear cooperation deal that cemented the relations between the two countries. He was also involved in the planning of Modi's maiden visit to the United States in September 2014. The move was reciprocated by Obama's visit to India in 2015 on the Republic Day. During his stint as the Foreign Secretary from 2015 to 2017, Jaishankar became Modi's troubleshooter. In June 2017, both India and China were locked in a border standoff. As the situation on ground seemed to be escalating from both sides, Jaishankar took over the diplomatic line without any help from the Chinese ambassador. Finally, on 28 August 2017, India and China both agreed to pull back their troops, with China announcing that it would stop its roadwork in Doklam. This was exactly the reason why Jaishankar was given a one-year extension from 2017 to 2018. Modi's decision to pick Jaishankar in the 2019 cabinet was hailed by many experts and analysts as an excellent choice. While his predecessor, Sushma Swaraj, used to be more involved in consular affairs, Jaishankar took advantage of his 38-year-long diplomatic career. He was more agile in his approach as opposed to the largely ceremonial role that his predecessors played. He began attending forums and programs organized by various think tanks like the Council of Foreign Relations, the CSIS, the Atlantic Council, Carnegie Endowment, Hudson Institute, Valdai Discussion Club. He also participated in global leadership summits and interviews. He announced his arrival by spreading the word of India and its renewed foreign policy, which has been popularly referred to as the Jaishankar Doctrine. While there is no single universally accepted definition of the Jaishankar Doctrine, it generally operates on a set of principles, which Jaishankar has himself outlined on multiple occasions. Pragmatism. India will adopt a pragmatic stance rather than an ideological attitude towards international relations. Neither of the axes. India believes that the world is becoming increasingly multipolar, resulting in the rise of new key players.
I don't think it's necessary for me to join this axis or not, and if I'm not joining this, I must be with the other one. I don't accept that.
It does not subscribe to the idea of binary options in regards to allying with the East or West on the world stage. Multi-alignment. India will adopt an interests-first approach rather than one based on values. In a multipolar world, it will look for multi-alignment based on common interests. This is a completely different position from India's policy of non-alignment, which it adopted in the early years of independence. Non-West. The doctrine is also rooted in the fact that India, as a rising power, is non-West, not anti-West.
I would certainly characterize India as a country which is non-West, but which has an extremely strong relationship with Western countries, getting better by the day.
The West in this scenario is not a geographic designation, but a political concept growing out of the Cold War. It includes countries led by the US and its allies, the Five Eyes, the European Union, and even Japan and South Korea. The doctrine also has some aspects of civilizational diplomacy, deriving from India's rich heritage of epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata. This doctrine was certainly tested with what would be Jaishankar's biggest challenge yet. When the Russia-Ukraine war started in February 2022, India was urged to pick a side and not sit on the fence. But with Jaishankar leading from the front, India took the center stage amid the geopolitical chaos. He not only defended India's energy security, but also called out Europe's hypocrisy for purchasing gas from Russia.
It's only Indian money and oil coming to India which funds, but it's not gas coming to Europe which funds. I mean, look, somewhere, let's be a little even-handed out here.
His message was loud and clear. It is not a unipolar world anymore, where it's either the American way or no way. Nor is it a bipolar world where a country has to join either one of the two axes. India advocated for an India-first approach while simultaneously trying to establish a rules-based international order. There is no doubt that India's foreign policy is in good hands, and the Jaishankar Doctrine has worked pretty well so far. In February 2024, the release of 8 former Indian Navy personnel by Qatar confirmed the doctrine's success again.
Without the intervention of Prime Minister Modi, it wouldn't be. आज हम आपके सामने खड़े नहीं हो रहे होते.
They were held in custody since August 30, 2022. Jaishankar's quips and retorts have quite a viral following of their own. Under his watch, Indian diplomacy has become the center of focus and has definitely made more Indians interested in Indian foreign policy. In the past, there have been many such doctrines like the Monroe Doctrine and Truman Doctrine, although almost all of them have been put forth by heads of state. Jaishankar himself has called it a Modi doctrine and not a Jaishankar doctrine.
Can we call this the Jaishankar Doctrine of Indian foreign policy?
Not really. I think there's somebody who had already laid claim, and he happens to be my boss.
Either way, if this doctrine succeeds in tackling the emerging world challenges, it can shape the new world order. As for Jaishankar, he might just become the first diplomat with a doctrine named after him.